Okay guys, I think I'm at 487 broadcasts. This would make 488 if it's doing it correctly. Here's what I would basically say out of all the things I've learned so far. Collectively, I would say the number one thing, and I've seen it work on a small scale with 5 or 10 minutes. Sweet Soul, good to see ya. Yeah, I think like saying hi to everyone as they come in is a small part. I think it's definitely a small part of what I think is the big thing that works. But what I've basically seen, and it's based on a smaller thing in theory because I've seen it work on a small scale. And if you wanted to see it work on a really big scale, I think it's a scalable concept. But basically what it is it appears that I think you get a little bit of momentum if you do like 3 of them in like 10 minutes because you got to give people enough time to like get on these. But what it seems like the big thing is the headline. So for example, this headline didn't work that well. And here's how I know if a headline works well or not. As a general rule, just based on my own followers and stuff, I get about 7 in the first 70 seconds. It gives people enough time to click on the notification, push notification, all that stuff. Now keep in mind, if I had 3 times as many followers, that number might be 21 within 70 seconds. So it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, so you got to kind of watch that. But what I've noticed is if you hit about 7 in about 70 seconds for mine, it's kind of a tipping point. Once it hits 7, it usually hits 9, then it hits 10, then it hits 12, then it hits 15. Earlier today, I had 24 to 25 going at once, and all it said was, I'm teaching Mark Periscope. That's all it said. Well, how is that any different than what I'm doing right now? It's because it was a good headline, and it showed that there's a big audience out there, and they identified with it. So that headline worked, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. Well, guess what? If you can retain people and keep people on there, what ends up happening is you've seen it. You've seen those people that have 100,000 followers or whatever. They stay on there for 4 to 8 hours the whole day, and they keep their numbers really high, and they just stay at the top of the charts. And they keep them at the top of the rankings. And that's, every website works a little different. Google works a little different. Craigslist works a little bit different. But the way that Periscope works is if you can keep the number really high, they're going to keep them at the top. So right now I have 4 on the bottom right. That's not a very high number. So generally I will not. So basically I think you should talk as long as you can. 60 minutes or 2 hours. But you have to have jam-packed tips the whole time too. Ted SHVD, thanks for coming on. You should, if you're going to talk for 1 to 2 hours, you should have just jam-packed full of information right now. I'm kind of small talking, so I wouldn't say there's a ton on that. Clippers fan, good to see you. So if you're just joining, basically the trick is this. You get a killer headline, the headline crushes it within the first 75 seconds, let's say. Because that's enough time for people to, push on their thing. Morgan, good to see you. So what ends up happening is you retain people, a bunch of people get in, and then that headline keeps, Chad1, good to see you. It keeps at the top, and then people are like, oh, 7 or 10 people in that. Let me go check out that is. And then 12 people are in there, and then they stay in, and then 14 people are in there. So you're trying to retain people, and if you can keep that number up, Chad, good to see you. You can keep that number up. So like right now we're at 4 or 5, thanks to the hearts. The hearts make you go up more too. So of course you got to keep the interesting information, you got to retain it and all that kind of stuff. But what you want to do is get the number really high, because if you can keep it up to 12, 15, 20 or whatever, and usually right away, if you can keep it up to that, what happens is the number is going to stay really high in Periscope. You're going to say, oh, there's a bunch of them with 1 or 2 people in. This one's got 20 people in. So then everybody just wants to join the party. So then it just stays at the top for a really long time. So that's the trick from what I've seen.